Okay, good evening everybody. This is Dan Johnson. I'm with AMS. I'm the vendor manager and I'm going to be putting on a Working with AMS webinar this evening. Thank you all for joining us. It's been a very exciting last month as we kicked off in several states across the country, and I will be covering that in detail as we move forward. So let me pull up the next slide. I wanted to start with a little bit on AMS. As some of you know, and some of you do not know, we started the company in 1994. We've successfully managed and protected valuable assets for over the last 16 years. We have built a solid foundation of client satisfaction based on relationships, trust, hard work, reliability, cost controls, and technology. Beginning locally in the region of our home office in Philadelphia, AMS has grown into 47 states with over 550 employees and 200 service vehicles. Unlike other property preservation companies that rely strictly on outside contractors to perform the necessary field work, AMS utilizes a unique mix of our own company-owned vehicles, in-house field crews, corporate training professionals, and quality control field experts, along with a pool of 2,500 insured and licensed contractors to perform your required services. Okay, and here we have a diagram of where AMS is currently operating across the United States. As you can see, 44 states for HUD, 10 states for Fannie Mae, and 4 states for GMAC. Okay, we'll start off with a little bit of fundamental information for newer vendors or vendors that are interested in applying with AMS. We do have a couple of things that you definitely need to know. Okay, first and foremost, property preservation REO work is all about digital photographs. Okay, I can't stress that enough. I'll be mentioning that time and time again over the course of this webinar, because I do want to make sure that everybody understands that all the work that we do, although it's important, although the end product is important, we have to be able to show the client the condition of the property as we receive it and the work that was completed. So a digital camera, absolutely necessary. That digital camera has to have the capabilities to be able to date stamp those photographs, so when they're uploaded to the work orders, we know what date those were serviced, and the client can look back and also refer to those dates to see when the property was serviced. Of course, going right into the next block, computer, we're going to need that to process those photos and upload them to the internet, which brings us to the next point. The internet connection is what you need to transmit your images to EMS, and then EMS will be transmitting those over to HUD. Okay. We also needed the complete and return pricing agreement and statement of work. Everybody was emailed that particular document, and that's the document that states the winterization, what's required, the initial landscape, what's required, debris removal, cleaning, and of course the HPIR parts 1, 2, and 3. We're going to be covering a little bit about the HPIR later in this webinar. There is another webinar tomorrow that's going to go into much greater detail on the HPIR, what it is, and why it's important. We also need a signed and returned copy of your subcontract agreement with your certificate of liability insurance, naming asset management specialist as certificate holder, W-9, and we also need, I just touched on the certificate of insurance. Okay, so what's required for insurance? We need general liability or comparable coverage to include contractual liability. Your occurrence limit has to be $1 million. General aggregate has to be $1 million. Auto liability, combined single limit, $1 million. And a very popular question that we get is, what about workers' comp? Okay, if you carry workers' comp, of course you have to abide by your local statutes and requirements. If you do not carry workers' compensation, there is a contingency clause underneath the chart in your subcontractor agreement as to what happens if you don't, and you can go back and read your subcontractor agreement to be able to answer your own questions if you don't carry it and that concerns you. Okay, we'll start with an overview of the HUD acquisitions process. And step 1, what encompasses the HUD initial services? Okay, we're talking about the initial inspection, which is part 1 and 2 of the HPIR, or HUD Property Inspection Report. Of course, we have the lock change. We want to change the main access door knob lock to a the HUD key code. Okay, if it's not already changed to one of those key codes that was in your statement of work, then that needs to be changed during the HPIR in that first 24 hours. We also want to get these properties winterized as quickly as possible, especially if we're into fall and moving into winter seasons. That's going to become absolutely crucial for making sure the properties are winterized as soon as possible. Okay? And you'll see that part of the HPIR is noting the integrity and the condition of the plumbing system. So if we get to the property, again, we want to use those date-stamped digital photographs to document the condition of the property. If there's any kind of plumbing damage resulting from freezing, we also want to document that. Otherwise, we're going to be winterizing as quickly as possible. Within 72 hours of the acquisition, we want the initial landscape, the initial trash out, and the initial or fine clean done as well. So this property should have a maximized curb appeal within that first 72 hours. Okay? And then 96 hours, day 4 and 5 of the initial services process, we're going to be having the property condition report, which is part 3 of the HPR, done, and the a benchmark of the AMS quality control inspection will also be done to make sure that the standards have been met. Okay, which brings us right into parts 1 and 2 of the HPIR. Part 1 is a simple verification that the property is in a condition to be conveyed to HUD. You as the inspector should mainly look for any conditions that would bring into question the habitability of the property or any damages that are present. Again, photos, date stamp photographs, very, very important. What we want to tell, what you want to tell AMS and what AMS wants to tell the client, this is the way the property was assigned to us. It was assigned with damage, or it was assigned with this, or it was assigned in a perfectly, good condition. Whatever the case may be, as you run across these properties, that's what has to be documented in those digital photographs. A couple of things you want to look for. How's the air conditioning, or the compressors, or the air handling system? How are the plumbing fixtures? The appliances, what kind of shape are they in? Active roof leaks. Are there signs and symptoms or obvious active roof leaks? All that should be documented. Holes in the walls. Copper piping, hot water heater. What are the conditions that these particular items are in? On part 1 of the HPIR form, the item conveyance questionnaire, these items should be include heating and air conditioning, the electrical supply such as wiring, built-in appliances like the range oven, dishwasher, kitchen cabinets, or other, water supply, sanitary facilities such as the toilet or septic system, roof, again, active roof leaks, damage, property, is it structurally sound? Is it free from safety and health hazards? Those are some of the things that are addressed on the left side of Part 1 of the HPIR. The right side of the HPIR is the repair replace estimate for the section, which provides item description and item condition. If the property is damaged or missing basic components, estimate the repair cost to repair or replace those items and put that in on the HPIR form. We also want to note the conveyance condition deviations such as mold, excessive wetness, standing water, damage caused by fire or other natural disaster. Determine if the damage is caused by mortgagee neglect. Part 2 of the HPIR, the initial inspection, this shall be completed at the same time as Part 1. You'll need to take photos of any adverse conditions at the property as well as any health and safety issues that are present. Each inspector must pay close attention to lead-based paint hazards and document when the home was built. Okay, which brings us to part of the HPR. We want to make sure, of course, that these properties are secure. Okay, during the initial inspection, the property must be properly secured. Securing shall include, but is not limited to, placing new knob locks on the main access door and securing all unauthorized entry. Okay, so we want to make sure that each one of our doors is secured, and we want to make sure that main access door is keyed to one of the proper HUD key codes. Regardless, if you change the lock or it's already been changed, we want to make sure that we're noting the key code on your HPIR form. So someone who is going to be looking at this document wants to know, how do I get in this property? And that's where you document it. If the main access door is already keyed, of course, then you're fine. You don't have to change it, but we want to make sure that nonetheless that key code is on the HPIR form.